Real estate is about freedom, choice freedom, time freedom, and money freedom, and the impact you can make with that freedom. But it doesn't come without cost. Your freedom takes work. That's why Neil Timmins brings together the tools you need to build your real estate legacy, from tips and tricks to interviews with industry titans. It's all here in one place. Real Grit. Let's get to it.
What if I told you you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Real Grit. I'm Neil Timmins. I've got Mike Simmons here. He shared the stage with Gary Vee, Jocko Willink, Russell Brunson, among many other people. You know, as a successful owner of a real estate investment company, he's also a partner in one of the country's largest real estate mentorship mastermind companies. Mike specializes in helping entrepreneurs create systems, processes, automations that allow them to work on their business, not just in it. They actually get to have a business, not be a slave to the work. He's personally worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and allowed them to optimize their business. In addition, you know, he's got a show. He's conducted over 500 interviews with entrepreneurs who run 6, 7, and even 8-figure businesses. He resides out of Michigan. He's got 2 daughters and 1 son, and he loves the beach to escape the cold weather. Who doesn't? I'm from Iowa, so I can relate to that. Mike, how are you?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I should probably update my bio. I just did my 600th show. So
600?
Yeah, man.
Well, congratulations. I know what goes into these things and how much time, energy, and effort. And so that's terrific.
Thanks, man.
In fact, let me start there. 600 shows. What has been your biggest takeaway after talking to 600 plus people at this point in time?
You know, so I had a conversation about a year and a half ago. I was interviewing Brandon from the Bigger Pockets, Brandon Turner.
Oh, yeah.
And we both agreed on this. And unfortunately, this is something where people hear and they go, okay, next. But I'm telling you, if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that more people are held back by mindset issues than by tactical problems or not having the tools or having the wrong upbringing or not having access to money. All the things that people think that hold them back. It's really not. I see more people like, you know, I have worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs and I've given many times to people the same advice, the same tools, the same everything. And one person, their business explodes and the other person tells me it didn't work and it just doesn't work, right? Why doesn't it work for this person A, but it worked for person B when all things being relatively equal, one explodes and one doesn't? It's because one has a different mindset and set of beliefs than the other person, right? And so that's really, unfortunately, the thing that holds people back. I have given presentations and I did one time where, you know, that old saying, give a man a fish, he's for a day, teach him to fish. Well, everybody, I feel like not everybody, that's not a fair statement. A lot of folks want to be given a fish over and over and over. They just want you to give them a fish. They don't want to learn how to fish. And sometimes learning how to fish is having the right mindset, having a fisherman's mindset and a hunter's mindset. And and a lot of folks just don't have that and they wonder why it doesn't work, you know? So it is mindset a lot, honestly. That's the biggest takeaway. Because I've interviewed, listen, you've interviewed a ton of people. I've interviewed a ton of people. And I don't mean this disrespectfully, but you don't have to be a rocket scientist to be a real estate investor. Nope. It doesn't require an advanced degree or some high level of intelligence. I've met people that are highly intelligent and are successful in real estate. And I've met people that are not traditionally intelligent, like, you know, IQ intelligence, and they're killing it. And my daughter is a sort of an example of like, she has high intelligence. She's got a master's degree. She's smart, but she was very young when she came to me and wanted to do real estate. And I gave her some advice, like I give a lot of people who pay me to give them advice, and her business exploded. She took off and got 3 deals right away. And it's like, why? Well, for her, it was not lack of intelligence. She's very intelligent. It was ignorance in that she didn't know what could go wrong. She had no idea why it wouldn't work. She didn't have a lifelong set of experiences that beat her down. And so when I told her it would work, she believed me. I'm her dad. Why would I lie? Why? She's never seen anything different, right? And so she believed it and it worked. And I have given people with way, way, way more advantages than her in terms of experience and money and all this, the same exact advice and nothing, crickets, nothing, right? She just didn't know why it wouldn't work. She believed it would work.
All the things one tells themselves, it's tremendous what can hold you back.
Yep. And you mentioned Jocko Willink that I share a stage with. So I was asked recently what the most impactful book I've had in my business, and it's Extreme Ownership, the book by Jocko Willink. It's amazing what people can do if they just stop blaming everything outside of them for their problems, religion, politics, age, gender, everything, right? Like all this stuff that people blame, there's nothing to blame but yourself when things aren't going right. And as soon as people realize that, I think things change for them.
Gary Vee says it a lot. He puts a whole lot of content out there, tons, right? I remember him talking about that one day. Maybe he got it from Jocko. He's just saying everything that happens to me, is for me. And ultimately, if I got hit by a car today, it's because I was 5 minutes early. I just accept everything as my responsibility, no matter how good or bad or indifferent. Once you possess that mentality, it's freeing.
And here's the thing. I know you talk about this. You talk about building teams and hiring. Sure. Imagine if you are running a company, whether it's big or small, and everyone in the company has that philosophy that everything is my responsibility. Yes. Everything is my fault. I take responsibility for everything that happens around me. If everyone did that, you'd be unstoppable. You would have a team that would not be stoppable because that philosophy can be contagious. Imagine you're sitting in a room, something goes wrong, and somebody stands up. It was kind of your fault. Yeah. And somebody says, you know what? This is on me. I should have been more involved, blah, blah, blah. And then you feel compelled to go, no, it's my fault. And then somebody else goes, wait, I had a hand in that too. And pretty soon everyone wants to take responsibility. Correct. It's like you have that environment. You can't be stopped, man. It starts
at the top though, right?
Yep.
Starts at the top.
100%.
I started my career at Wells Fargo forever ago. I was only there a couple of years before I got into real estate. And I remember the CEO's name escapes me at this time, talking about that at one point in time. We had their annual presentation, a whole bunch of awards were done, and I was there and he spoke and giving credit to everybody. I happened to just end up in the hallway next to him on the way out. So I got about 90 seconds with him. And I said, hey, congratulations. What a great year. And he just said, hey, it's easy to give good information, right? And it's easy to pass along and credit everybody who's around you. It's a lot harder to take responsibility when everything goes wrong. And that's the responsibility of the person in charge, right? Share the credit, right? Or give it all away to everybody else around you, and then take responsibility when everything goes south. And ultimately that becomes contagious, exactly what you just said, because when somebody sees the person who's the leader, right, doing that, that's what ultimately, and that's what has occurred here, is that's what happens. Exactly what you just said. Everybody takes responsibility for whatever it is that they're accountable for. They're taking responsibility for it. And they know, just because being around me enough, I don't come down on people. Like, hey, I get it. Stuff happens. Now, how do we get through this?
Yep.
Right.
Yep. 100%. That's leadership. That's just leadership. Giving away the credit and taking all the blame. That's leadership. Right. And people will run through walls for you if they see you do that.
You're exactly right about that.
Yep.
So, all right. Take me back to the beginning. What was the first entry point into this business for you?
I'll take you back to the entry point, but I have a story that I think will be very relatable to your audience. My initial entry point into the business was in 2003. I decided, I put my stake in the ground. I did some rough retirement math. Yeah. When would I be able to retire on my current trajectory? And it was like, never, or it was beyond, human attainable age, right?
So all I have to be is 136. That's
100. Exactly. I'll be living easy street. So I put my stake in the ground, said, I want to be a real estate investor. I started looking at things, going to conferences and all that. And I got so excited and I was going to do it. Bought my first house in 2008. 5 years of procrastination, of fear, of doubt, of not taking action, right? I was raised by a Marine. My dad was a Marine. He was in Vietnam. In my house growing up, fear was not tolerated. It just wasn't, right? We kind of had an old school house, and I lived for 5 years with fear of getting started in real estate, fear of making a mistake, fear of looking stupid, until eventually my dad's voice was in my head so loud that I just was so disgusted with myself for allowing the fear to grab me. Now, side note, I didn't tell anybody I want to be a real estate investor. It was all in my head. And so I wasn't failing publicly. I was failing very privately. And that's a recipe for failing too, right? Just not making it known. And so I bought my first house in 2008. It went pretty well. Michigan prices back then, I bought it for $40,000, put $15,000 into it, sold it, made $15,000. That was like the most money I ever seen at one time in my entire life.
Right.
So that went great. And then I sort of treated it like, I always say, a lot of people run their business like a lemonade stand at the end of the driveway. And that's how I was running it. No processes, no systems. I wasn't tracking. I was just taking money in, money going out, but I wasn't pursuing it hard because I had a good job at the time and I was making pretty good money. But here's what happened. about 9 years ago, I was working in that job. It was 8:00 at night on a Friday. I had been at work until 8:00 or later every single night that week. And I was in the automotive industry, and we built seat structures, and we were working with a client, one of the big three. I won't mention which one, but it rhymes with Gord. And we were working, and there was a problem. And I was asked by the client, what happened? Why are we late on this project? And I told him the truth, what was happening on the project. And he got in my face and screamed at me, "You're lying." And it was just like, all of a sudden the weight hit me of where I was, where I wasn't at home with my kids and my wife. I walked up to my manager after the confrontation really ended. And I said, "What are we doing here? Why are we here? What is happening right now? Why can we not go home?" And he said, "You need to get your priorities straight." And I thought, you're 100% right.
Wow.
100% right. I am not getting my priorities straight because I'm here. And I decided that day to make my side hustle the most important thing in my business life. And so I took this little business where I was flipping houses back then, doing onesie twosies, kind of doing it poorly. And I focused my energy and all of my efforts into that. 1 year later, my business grossed profit $1 million.
Wow.
Now, $1 million happened to be, if you take the sum of my salaries for the first 25 years that I was working for someone, was about $1 million that I had made to that point in 25 years. I made it in 1 year. And it's because I had extreme motivation. For better or worse, I'm motivated by frustration, by anger. I was mad.
Sure.
And so I made it happen. And there's a lot of reasons and things that allowed and fell into place that kind of helped me get there. But it happened very, very quickly. And so there were lots of lessons learned there, lots of bumps and bruises. I hired poorly. I did a lot of bad things in that year. And I had to kind of tear down and rebuild the business a little bit after that year because I grew a little too fast, but I did it. And I quit my job, obviously, and have never looked back.
Well, it's amazing that seed got planted so early. And then, one late night on a Friday, it got watered real quick.
Yeah, real quick. And I'll tell you what, once I did that and left my job and my company was doing well, it wasn't easy, right? There were challenges, but it was very much like, I always tell people, the best analogy I can come up with is if someone holds you underwater for an uncomfortably long time, at some point, all you can think of is taking a breath.
That's right.
And when I quit my job and had that year and was off and running, it was like I was allowed to come up above the surface and take air into my lungs. It felt like now I'm alive. Now I feel like I'm doing what I should have been doing all along. So it was just, for me, I felt like I had come home basically.
During that year, would you say you had a singular focus or darn near a singular focus?
I always tell people money should not motivate you. It shouldn't be your only motivation. I shouldn't say it should motivate you, but it shouldn't be your why. It shouldn't be your core, right? But I'll tell you what, one of the key things that happened to me that year is I joined a mastermind. It happens to be the one you read or you were saying in the beginning was those. I'm an owner of it now, but it was a mastermind I joined. And what I did was the power of that is when you surround yourself with like-minded people and even more particular, you surround yourself with people who have had more success than you in your chosen field, whatever it is. And you're able to glean from them. And I say, if you can use someone successful, if you can use their hindsight as your foresight, sky's the limit, right? And so I was able to use the hindsight of these successful men and women as my foresight. And I was able to take that and go forward. Now, that's how I did it. Like I stood on the shoulders of giants, so to speak, right? And I did that. Now, in that mastermind, you asked me what I was motivated by. We had a fun little contest, right? This was a small mastermind at the time. It was 25 companies. And the guy who was running it said, the first company to get to $1 million in gross profits, I will send them and their wives or husbands to Hawaii. I'm going to give you an all expense paid trip, right? Called my wife and said, hey, this challenge was put out there. And she's like, go get it. Like, I want to go to Hawaii, right? And so long story short, I won. So I had a goal that I was going toward and I got there and I won and we went, we actually upgraded. We negotiated Fiji instead of Hawaii because we had been to Hawaii. So that's a whole other story, but I was motivated by that. Now, the reason I say I don't necessarily recommend you have a money as your only goal is because we got there, but it's like we built this rocket ship that wasn't assembled correctly. And we got into orbit, but it started falling apart, right? And so we turned over our entire company after that year. We had to rehire, we had to restructure, we had to come up with different processes. Like we got there, but it wasn't the most efficient, effective company ever. It was sort of bubblegum and scotch tape, but we got there, and then we had to retool in orbit, and then we were good. But it took some time. We talked about it earlier, right? Extreme ownership. Yep. I wasn't a good leader. I was good at getting deals. I was good at negotiating. I was good at turning these deals around and making money. I was an awful leader. And the skill set that people don't talk about a lot, like you can build a company, the one-man band company. Yes. And you get skills doing that, but they're not necessarily the same skills it takes to lead a company.
They're not even close.
Not even close, right? And nobody really, I shouldn't say nobody, you talk about it, but not everyone talks about that. We talk about how to get the deals and the sales are part of it and all this.
Tactical.
Hiring contractors, all tactical. Mm-hmm. But if you can only get as far as your bandwidth will take you with those skill sets, when you start hiring and you're not doing the work anymore, totally different skill set. And I didn't know that skill set. I didn't have it. I was bad.
No, you're totally right. And you're limited there. And you're also limited to who you can hire, because A+ players will not work for B managers. Or if they do, they won't work for long.
Yep.
You've got to grow. And worse,
I was a B manager and I was hiring B and C people that I was expecting A results, and it just didn't work.
Yeah, no, you've got to, as a leader, one way or another, when you identify, you've got to build a business, which you're so good at helping people transition out of, a JOB, which is, we all got into this industry to get out of a JOB. And now what you end up finding is that you've created one for yourself. So you've got to turn that into a business, and you've got to level up as a manager in order to attract higher caliber players to take a business to the level, to actually create a business and then to take it to a next level.
Yeah, I think a big mistake, a real common mistake that solo operators make when they start hiring is they expect the people that they hire to have the same enthusiasm and dedication as you do, and they don't. It's not their company. They're incentivized differently than you.
Correct.
And I just expected I can do these things. Like, this is the stuff that I can get done in a day, and you do it. And it's like, they're not going to. It's not their company. They're not going to do that. And you can't expect it. It's not fair. And, I had to learn too, what I mentioned, being motivated by money. Money is not the most effective tool for building loyalty and dedication and job satisfaction. It's not always the number one thing. Some people, my generation, we just assume, give them a raise, they're going to be happy. But you know what happens? You worked in a company, right? They give you a raise, you're super happy. A couple months later, 6 months later, it's just part of your budget. Like, it doesn't feel like anything anymore. Nope. And that's why raises, people get reviews every single year, and they give you a little bit every year, a little bit, right? Because they know it's just enough sugar to keep you going until the following year, and you're going to want more sugar. Right. And so money doesn't do it. It's other things. It's just being a great leader, understanding what motivates your team and motivating them in their individual ways that they need that. So that's really one of the lessons.
No, I think you went down a very good path right there. And would you agree with me? Everybody's got to be managed differently.
100%.
There are different triggers for different people. And you have to, as a leader, you have to understand that. Just as us, it's as simple as to say, all of us are just people, and there's just different things that we really tune into or really get excited about. And as a result of being individuals, you must manage individually.
It's a little bit like you're a parent, right, of a family. Yeah. All your kids, if anybody listening has kids, do you parent both your kids exactly the same? No, you don't.
Right.
Totally different, right? And they're same kids, same company, same family, but you have to motivate people, or not motivate, you have to lead people individually. You just need to know what motivates them. And I'll tell you, I have created extreme loyalty with people in my company, and it's really not, I can't think of one person that I can say it's the money that makes them loyal. Even though they make good money, it's not the money. It's the other things that we've done for them throughout the years that has created extreme loyalty.
Right. No, that's tremendous. Talk to me about what you see, people who they're wholesaling, they're fixing whatever this vertical of real estate is, let's say, but they've got a job. There's no doubt about it. It's a job. Yeah. How does somebody go from there to a point where they actually have a business?
There's two main things. Probably the biggest lever that you can pull is building a team. There's no doubt about it. You will have a job until you bring people in to share the workload. And I'm not even necessarily talking about bringing in W-2 employees that work full time for you, or even contractors that work all the time. You can ease into this a little bit. The limiting belief that I had early on, kind of a circular logic, was I wanted to be a big company, and to be a big company, I had to hire people. but I couldn't hire anybody because I wasn't a big enough company. Right. And it's like, I couldn't figure out how to get out of that loop. And because I thought hiring people meant I hire them, they work for me 40 hours, I have a salary that I'm responsible. And I couldn't commit to that right away.
Right.
And so one thing that I did, and this is, I did it accidentally. I didn't realize I was doing something kind of clever until hindsight, I could see that, but it's repeatable. I have a guy that I hired on my company. One of the first hires was a sales guy. I'm not a born salesperson. It's not in my DNA. I can do it. And as the owner of the company, you stretch and you do things that are outside of your comfort zone. And I was competent, required. I was competent, but I wasn't really great. And I had a guy that reached out to me and wanted to kind of pick my brain and have lunch. And I rarely do that, but I did it. And he impressed the heck out of me. And he wrote me an email after our lunch and he recapped the lunch and he listed all these things that he thought he could do to help my business for free. He just wanted to help. And so long story short, I hired him. He came in and I found out really quickly the difference between someone who does sales because they have to and that it's their company and someone who was born to be a salesperson. And so this person came on, and the reason it was really good fit is he was in pharmaceutical sales. He knew nothing about real estate, but he was a killer pharmaceutical sales person. He was getting awards. They were sending him on trips and he was the regional top salesperson. And so he came on and he had a local route. He didn't travel out of state or anything. He had a local, route inside of our town. And he was on the road, but he was crushing it. It was easy for him to be really, really good. And he had a lot of free time. So he started going on appointments for me in his free time.
Love this.
He didn't need the money he was making from me. So I was able to pay him commission only when I got paid on the sale of a property. And he was totally fine with that. And that's how we started the relationship. And that allowed me to do that relationship, and that strategic hire was the springboard for my company, because I went from going on, for me, I'd go on 5 appointments, seller appointments, and I would get on average 1 deal if I went on 5 appointments, right? Not bad. He would go on 5 appointments, the same 5 that I would be going on normally, and he'd get 3 contracts.
Wow.
Now we're talking about real estate, right? So we aren't selling widgets, right? They're not 50 cents each, right? We're not tens of thousands of dollars a month influx into my company allowed me to start hiring and doing more marketing. And that was sort of the springboard, getting somebody in there who was great at what they do and they love it. And he is great at what he does.
Wow. That's incredible. Talk to me about what your business looks like today and where you're headed.
Okay. So today, let me go back to the past 7 years or so. I transitioned from being a flipper primarily to primarily wholesaling. A lot of reasons for that. The number one reason is it just suits my personality. I like the velocity. I like the quickness of it. And so I built this company around me. So we've been doing wholesaling for the last 7 years, almost exclusively, very few strategic flips. What we've transitioned to now, and it partially was because of some of the marketing fluctuations in the results of our marketing, and COVID hit and it did some weird stuff for a minute. And so the idea for us is, let me just say this real quick. I'll tell you where I went. This is the reason why we went there. When COVID hit, it seemed like it was going to be kind of devastating for our company because we relied on direct mail at the time. And in Michigan, at least, I don't know about where you are or where the people listening, people stopped touching their mail. They would leave the mail in the mailbox for weeks. People would have groceries delivered. They would sit in their driveway for days because they thought they could get COVID by touching it. Right. And so our direct mail campaign fell off the face of the earth and we had to let some people go. And it was like, this is bad. The first year of COVID, 2020, by the end of the year, our net profits was our record for us, the highest net profit year we've ever had. Right. Yeah. And so our company became more profitable and easier to manage. And I'll be honest, my partner and I liked it. It was intoxicating because we were Mach 4 hair on fire for the previous 6 years, or 5 years. That year came and it's like, hey, we made more money this year when we worked not even half as hard.
Correct.
And so we decided, let's figure out a way that we can kind of hedge against the ups and the downs of the market and, some crazy pandemic that no one can predict. And so what we do now is we're still doing about half of our deals are wholesale deals. The other half, we're buying them. We're raising private money, buying the properties and selling them on land contract. We're playing bank. We're holding the note, playing bank. We don't have the traditional problems of a rental landlord relationship where we're fixing toilets and all this stuff. They own the house, all right? Home ownership, and we're holding the note. And it's been working great for us. It's just been amazing for us. And it's that we're going to build that up to probably 100 properties as sort of our goal right now. Yeah. We're somewhere around 25. we're going to get that to 100. And that sort of creates our base. It pays our bills. It pays our people. Exactly. It pays us. It keeps everything good. And the wholesale deals are just cream on top. And then we don't have to worry about the crazy ups and downs. It just sort of stays a little bit more up, hopefully.
Well, it's an incredible passive income stream that you'll utilize for really the base of probably, I would suggest, even to look at other creative, other avenues of revenue streams potentially at one point, because now everybody's paid for. Everybody's done. Everything else comes in is all your profit.
100%. And I'll tell you, I think this will happen in pretty much any market, but in our market where we're doing this, we weren't sure what the demand would be because the interest rate's a little higher, right? We're borrowing money at a certain percent. We're charging more than that. And so I wasn't really sure what how this would be received locally. We have created a Facebook group, a buyer's kind of a list, right? You can opt into that. We have people lined up. We get a house and we make it available as a land contract. We have people lined up with, by the way, with $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 down payments ready to go. Yeah. And it's incredible. The demand is off the charts.
It would seem to me if it follows trajectory, interest rates continue to rise, if banks become, if inflation holds, that is really, that's what I'm premised upon. If inflation holds or goes higher, everything is just getting a little more difficult. Banks will just ratchet down. And I'm not saying that they just cut everybody off, but if they cut 3, 4, or 5, or 6, or 8, or 10% of the people off, right? They get just a little tighter. It creates additional buyer pools.
Yep. 100%. Yeah. I think it's going to be phenomenal for us going forward. And I like the stability it's going to give us because both me and my partner, we have other business ventures we do. I started a lending company. I've got I'm buying some short-term rentals. So I'm diversifying, right? I'm diversifying my income. And so if I can have this business, and by the way, we do 100 deals a year. Yeah. I don't see any of them. I don't know these houses. I don't go there, right? I've got a team that does it. If I can create this hands-off, which I have, this hands-off machine that's creating money for me, with very low hours needed for me, and I can do these other things, that's perfect. I don't need to create something, like you said, a job. I don't want to go back to working 60, 70 hours a week.
No, you don't need that at all. I want to take me back to to your culture, to your business. What does a culture look like inside of your organization?
Yeah. So we started off, we were very numbers driven. We would bring in a salesperson. We would say, this is the amount of deals we expect you to sign within 60 days. And if you don't, you're gone. And it was turn and burn. And we were like, so what we have actually turned to when we hire, by the way, this is where it all starts, the hiring. I hired in a traditional manner. When I worked in corporate, I did some hiring, and I know how we did it. It was a very traditional kind of corporate mentality. But what we started doing was we started hiring more for values than experience. And it doesn't mean you don't need to have experience to do what you do, right? We want people with some experience. I would rather hire someone who has limited experience, kind of a diamond in the rough, who has the same values that we do. And so we start interviewing, asking questions, open-ended questions that allow people to talk. And when people in an interview go off script a little bit and you give them more rope than they're used to getting in an interview, they will start becoming exactly who they are, and they'll start revealing themselves as the kind of person that you want to work with or not. And so we hire more for values, given a chance to get this rock star person with maybe questionable team, values, or this kind of a next level down, but great team person, great values. We'll always take the better person every time, because I've done the opposite and it almost ruined my company. And so inside of my company, we have we're not micromanagers. We kind of run our business using the traction model. If you're familiar with the book Traction, Wickman, we use that very, very much. We give people one number to focus on every week, and they report that one number in our meetings on Thursday morning. Yeah. And so I think a confused mind sort of doesn't know what to do. So we try not to give them, 10 metrics that they're trying to hit every week. We give them one. And so when everything's going crazy and Rome is burning, what is it I need to focus on? They can always go back to that one thing. And if they can accomplish that, their week was successful. And so we give people very distinct and clear lanes, right? It's fine to cross train, but everyone has a responsibility, and that's their lane. And the reason we do that is we've done it the other way. We've sort of had a team where everyone sort of got into everything, and it's like pretty soon no one's responsible for anything. So when things don't happen, we're all wondering why we're kind of doing this. Yeah. So we give people very distinct lanes. We give them one number to focus on each week. And honestly, my personality is I'm very A, right? And so if we work together and I see you on a Monday morning and you walk up to me and say, Mike, I need that report don't forget we have this meeting at 9:00, blah, 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 blah. I'm fine with that, right? That's how I operate. I hit the ground running and I don't need a lot of conversation. But I've learned in corporate and over the years, when I do that on a Monday morning and I say, hey, Neil, I need that report. And we have and you go, whoa. Hey, good morning. How was your weekend? People do that to you in a corporate environment. Yes. I go, you're right. And so I've sort of taken that into my company and I take a real personal approach. I try to truly get to know people and get to understand what's going on, because it's the power in saying, hey, Connor, how was your daughter's dance recital last night? It's like, whoa. He didn't immediately ask me about that deal that is going sideways right now. That's very important.
Correct.
He asked me about my daughter's recital because I mentioned it to him last week. That. It sounds dumb, but those little things, man, do they make an impact on people. I mean,
huge.
Connor's, I'm just using him because he's the guy on mine right now. He works for me, but he went on vacation. By the way, we don't have vacation policies. Yeah. You take vacation wherever you want it, right? We just expect that you'll get things covered. You'll make arrangements. It'll all go down, right? And so we don't have vacation days or anything like that. You go when you want. So he went on vacation and I texted him a day into his vacation, just said, hey man, have a great time with your family. You totally deserve it. You're awesome. We appreciate everything you do. Have a great time. And he wrote back immediately and he's like, wow, that just made my day. That was awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. So I mean, I call it credits and debits, right? You have relationship credit and debit. Right. And I think this goes in personal relationships, right? With your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever. Sure. But it works in corporate too, and in a company. You have to make way more deposits than you do withdrawals from that account. You're going to make withdrawals from time to time. You're going to make mistakes. You're just human. You may get mad about something or whatever, but you have to make enough deposits that those withdrawals don't feel terrible. You hire someone day one, they don't know you, they don't know the company, and you yell at them or you come down on them for something. It's like, this place sucks. He's an idiot. I hate it here. Right. But for a year, you've done all these things, and then you have a day where just things don't go right. It's a stressful, bad day. They don't go, this place sucks. It's easily absorbed because they know you care. They know that you have their back. You know that you support them. That's the kind of stuff that I focus on now. And the numbers take care of themselves. And we track numbers, obviously. It's very important. But the numbers tend to take care of themselves when everybody's happy and wants to be there.
No, I think you've hit it on the head. It goes back to what you said very early on in this conversation was you got to get your priorities right. And understanding that the person who works for you has a different set of priorities, and perhaps for most people, the work is not priority number one. They've got a life, they got other things, and you plugging into that, right? To understand that it humanizes your organization. It's not robotic. We just don't run on numbers, and it creates a deeper bond and deeper relationship. And people will, when those debits have to occur, when they just naturally do, because every day is not roses, it makes it palatable.
Totally.
Place they want to be. Yeah.
Totally. And I think, like I said, maybe in past years, decades, generations, I'm a Gen Xer. Money was the only motivator. And honestly, you sort of expected everyone hated their job, or, nobody wanted to get up on Monday. You look forward to Friday, you dread Monday. Like, it was just normal. Nobody said, this is terrible, I need to fix this. They're like, no, it's my job. Of course I don't want to go to work on Monday. But the younger generations do not have that expectation. They expect to like where they're working. They expect to feel a sense of satisfaction and pride and all that, and so those are the things that I focus on, honestly, more than money. And it really works much better. People want to feel appreciated. They want some autonomy. They want to feel like they're being challenged. They want to feel like they're being backed, like someone has their back and they're not just out there on their own, that they're trusted. And so those are the things that we really push, honestly. And we have a much, much, much better company than we did the year when we built that rocket ship and got into orbit and everything fell apart, because we were just turning and burning. I mean, we weren't even bad. We weren't even it wasn't like we were inexperienced managers making mistakes. We were bad managers. Yeah. We were not very nice, sort of. We were kind of very matter of fact. And we treated everybody like a number, and they reacted in kind. They quit and we had to fire them, and it was just terrible. It was it wasn't fun to work there. I wasn't even having fun. I didn't like my own company. And I always tell people, company culture matters the way your personality matters.
Yes.
Nobody wants to be around you if you have a bad personality. Nobody wants to be in a company that has a bad personality. And if you think company culture doesn't matter and you don't pay attention and you don't know what your company culture is, if you don't know what your company culture is, I'm going to tell you right now, it's bad. Bad. So you have to pay attention to it. If you want to grow beyond what you can personally accomplish, and if you don't want to grow on beyond what you can accomplish, be prepared to have a job, because you're going to have to work in your company.
Right. Let's move on to the final segment, what I call for impact. Mike Tyson said it. Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. What about that resonates most with you? There you go.
That literally is hanging above my head.
Yeah.
That saying that you just said is the answer I give when I'm asked that question, because it's right there. I love it. It boils down to this for me. Most people don't take action. And I don't even mean to start a company. I mean, within their company, when they know there's something they need to do to get to the next level, or to hire, or take themselves out of it, or go from $1 million to 2 million, go from 5 to 10 million, whatever it is. It's always fear that's stopping them. It's fear of losing money. It's fear of losing reputation or looking stupid. It's fear of wasting time, right? It's always a fear. And what I have found, there's something, and I don't have the actual definition in front of me, but there's something called the law of diminishing intent. And it basically says, when you realize there's something that needs to be done, or when you're inspired to do something, the sooner you do it, the more likely you are to get it done. That's right. The longer you wait and deliberate, the more fear and things will pile up to conspire against you. Yeah. And so I have always had the philosophy, if it's something that should be done, it should be done right away. Nothing that needs to get done that's important for your company should be put on the back burner. Right. If it's important, do it now before you lose momentum, before you lose enthusiasm. And this is why you listen to a motivational speech and you feel like you could take on the world, and then you go to bed and wake up the next day and it's like, oh, I'm tired. Right. You don't have the same enthusiasm. When you're inspired, take action. That's what I find to be the most successful people do.
I think we've hit on it, but I'll ask a question anyway, because it's one of the four. What do you think holds most investors back?
It is fear. It just is. It's nothing else. You can't even give me a reason why something would hold you back, and that doesn't go back to fear. It is just fear, and it's doubt, and sometimes it's confusion, right? So I don't discount the fact that sometimes you need to get a certain level of education about something before you do it. I get that. Yeah. But learn how to get from A to B. You don't have to get from A to Z.
That's right.
You get A to B. So get enough education to take action on it. So I don't love it when people take ignorant action, but I think once you know what needs to get done, it needs to get done immediately, right? Yep. Mel Robbins has that 5-second rule or whatever, 3-second rule, where it's like you just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and do it. Don't think anymore, just do it, right? And I think more people should run their business that way, because the people who take action are the people I see that are successful. Right. It's not the high IQs, it's not the geniuses, it's the action takers.
Yeah. Outside of real estate, what are you most passionate about?
Right now, I tell you what, I'm a little bit of an addictive personality person. And so if you would have asked me 6 months ago, it'd be different. Right now, I don't know if this is what you're looking for, but I'm just telling you how I spend my time when I'm not working on my business. Yeah. I just bought a Blackstone grill. It's like a skillet grill for the outside. It's like a big flat top. Man, I'm all about cooking on that thing. I'm loving it. I tell my wife all the time, I can make anything on this thing. I watch YouTube videos, I'm all about it. Grilling on my new Blackstone, man. That's my right now. If you ask me in 3 months, I will probably have moved on to some other thing that I'm obsessed with, but I tend to find something that I like outside of business, right? Something that interests me personally. I hyper obsess on it for a couple, 2, 3, 4 months.
That's tremendous. I'm going to have to look that up. I've got 2 grills. Dude. I've got a smoker and I've got the infrared grill. And so, I understand how deep you can get on these things.
I'm so deep. Yeah.
Hey, what's your favorite way to make an impact in the community?
My favorite way to make an impact. So maybe this is a little bit of a cop out, but my company, 7-Figure Flipping, we just started the 7-Figure Foundation, and I just went to Mexico a few months back, and we went to the Yucatan Peninsula, and we built houses and schools for extremely poor villages. And when I say poor, I mean no roof, no running water, no electricity. They're living out in the jungle, basically. Yeah. And my wife and I and about 25 other people, men, women, and children, went there, and we spent 4 days in the 95-degree, 100% humidity, building houses and building schools. And so that's how I typically give back, is through that foundation. We were in Chicago 2 weeks ago, and we had donated some time and some money to some local projects there for folks that were homeless. So that's how I do it nowadays.
No, that's wonderful. Mike, I really appreciate you taking the time to connect up and to be on here. You've got an amazing story and tremendous background about how everything you've had to go through to get to the level of success that you've had now. You summed it up really well. Just figure out how to get from A to B. You don't need to figure out A to Z. And by the time you even did figure out A to Z, if you did know, I can tell you by the time you get A to somewhere along the alphabet, the denominators will shuffle
Yes.
That's the environment we're in, right?
Yep. 100%. It will change.
It will change. And you just understand and make connections along the way. And you spoke a lot about mentorship, getting surrounded by the right people. I couldn't echo that even more. You're so right. Just getting with the right people who've been there, done that. Yeah. Yep. For people, they want to connect with you. They want to follow you. They want to find you. They want to figure out a website. What can they want to learn more about the podcast? What can they do? Where can they go?
Sure. Yeah. I would love it if you guys would check out the podcast. You're listening to one now, obviously. So I know you're podcast listeners. It's called Just Start Real Estate. So look for Just Start Real Estate. You can check me out on there too. Just search my name, Mike Simmons, or you can go to MikeSimmons.com and you can find the podcast there and everything that I'm up to. And if you want to follow me, you can reach out to me there, MikeSimmons.com.
Perfect. We'll make sure all those links are in the show notes below for everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
You bet. Hey, for everybody here at Real Grit, I'm Neil Timmins, reminding you that real estate requires real grit. See you next time. What if I told you can make 20 times the return of a single family fix and flip on your next big deal? Well, it's actually possible. It's possible inside the world of commercial real estate. Say, I'm inviting you to this free challenge. It starts August 15th. It's totally free. It's a 5-day challenge where I'm going to take you and deep dive into the world of commercial real estate, more specifically, capital multiplier properties, what that is, how we identify them. I'm going to show you how to identify them, how to evaluate them, and how to lock them up risk-free. I'm going to give you all the paperwork to do it. It's totally free. You can sign up to join us at www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. That's www.20xprofitchallenge.com/real grit. And I'll see you in the challenge. If you like our content and want more, you can access it at realgritpodcast.com. You hear it guest after guest. Instinctively, you already know it. But let me call it out. The most expensive action is inaction. The real estate market is full of opportunities. You just need to uncover them. You can build a business that lasts for years, makes monumental impact in the lives of those that you love. It's not just about business, but about the freedom you get because of it. Have you ever heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I believe that partnering is essential. In fact, I partner with hardworking investors all the time. The point is that you can get a lot further with the right partner. Let me say it again, the right partner. If you've ever thought about partnering with anyone, or if you have a partner now, I encourage you to download my free Partner and Profit Guide, which includes the top 5 must-answer questions to evaluate a profitable partnership. You can find it at www.legacyimpactpartners.com. I'll see you in the next episode.